I think curiosity is one of the biggest attributes that highly successful people have. When you look at like Steve Jobs and Bill Gates and Barack Obama and Margaret Thatcher, like the world is filled with people who were curious and could empower other people to follow them. I think that's the key attribute. One of my personal mandates is I want to create resume making moments. That's my modum operandi, which is empowering people to see their journey and their growth.
Welcome to AI to Z. Hosted by Airswift's Chief Revenue Officer, Anna Frazzetto, we delve into artificial intelligence, health tech, and more. Tune in and journey with us into the future.
Hello, and welcome to AI to Z podcast today. I'm thrilled to have Helen Baptist, who's the Chief Strategy and Marketing Officer at Brand Muscle. Helen, you design, develop, and implement highly successful and scalable customer-centric go-to-market plans and strategies. You have over 25 years of experience in SaaS marketing and partnerships. You have led and contributed to 3 successful exits and multiple mergers and acquisitions. I love your passion. You're passionate about empowering and enabling customers to achieve their business goals and outcomes through innovation and data-driven solutions, not to mention featured thought leader and recipient of the top 50 women in SaaS. So love to have you on the podcast today. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Anna. It's nice to connect with you once again. You and I chatted several times in our history, and so it's nice to be having a dialogue about what's happening in marketing these days.
Terrific. So, Helen, why don't we start with talking about your role? You're a Chief Strategy and Marketing Officer in a global organization. So let's talk a little bit about the career ladder and the challenges that come along with it. What do you attribute your success to?
I think, look, my mom never graduated from high school, and so she instilled in us, both my brother and I, this profound sense of curiosity and a willingness to achieve. She lived vicariously through us, right? And so the idea that I am a first-generation American, I was a first-generation Canadian immigrant, those life lessons have really given me the authority and the empowerment to really crave out and carve out the career that I have. I think that, the willingness to learn and the willingness to try are 2 key factors and attributes that I tried to instill into my child. And really the people that are around me that I work with is providing some guidance and then making sure that they have the tools and the resources and the desire to do that. I think curiosity is one of the biggest attributes that highly successful people have. When you look at like Steve Jobs and Bill Gates and Barack Obama and Margaret Thatcher, like the world is filled with people who were curious and could empower other people to follow them. I think that's the key attribute. One of my personal mandates is I want to create resume making moments. That's my modum operandi, which is empowering people to see their journey and their growth to the point that it becomes a resume making moment. And it's not always the big, the sales rep gets the big whale that lands in the company, but it's things that you do on a day-to-day basis that have an impact on our customers and each other in a positive way. And so I really spend time in performance check-ins and those kinds of things, talking to people about their resume making moments that they've had. When you go through a rebrand, for example, as the chief market officer, there are a lot of people and pieces that go into that. And so when you come out with, you've defined the ICP you want to go after, that's a resume making moment for the people that have been part of that journey. When you come out with new logo, new look, new feel, that's a resume making moment for the graphic design team or the creative design team that you're working with. If they're internal, even if they're external, you've hired them. So every step along the way in a rebrand is a resume making moment for me, the resume making moment is when the pipeline builds, right? So that the company can make more money, which is the goal for any company that you're working for.
So, Helen, a couple of golden nuggets there and what you were just talking about. I love be curious. That's been a life lesson that I would always share with new salespeople that are kind of getting into the sales arena, or new recruiters. That be curious, because if you're curious, that really is, I think, the secret sauce to success. And the resume making moment, I think that's a tweetable moment by saying that. I don't even know if you can say that. Can you still say tweetable, or do you have to say like, I don't know. I don't know what it's called anymore. But okay, so let's talk a little bit, as far as next generation, what words of wisdom would you like to impart to the next generation? I recently had a conversation with a colleague who expressed concerns about the lack of confidence in the younger generation. Why do you think that is? And have you observed similar trends?
I think, this is a North American centric perspective, so I'm going to bring that first. I think that we've done a disservice to the younger generation, and I have a 25-year-old, so I'll talk from that experience. I think that when they were growing up, most of them won trophies just for participating, and not necessarily for the effort, right? Or the results or the outcomes. And I think that has engendered some complacency. I think that part of my job as a leader with, 25 plus years of experience is to ask people to be curious and to demonstrate that. And so when I go into meetings with new people, I ask a lot of questions. I try to pull out their essence of their being rather than the shell of the societal, outcomes that they've experienced. And so I really think that there's two sides of the spectrum, right? We've given this participation trophies, and yet on the other side, we gave those participation trophies, right? And so I think we need to kind of break that backlog. I see great things coming out of younger people. I've got some really, cool people on my team who've really taught me new things because they've been so ingrained in social media, for example, right? They've lived their lives on their phones. And so I'm learning new things, how to do more digital marketing, if you will, that attracts that audience, if that's your ICP. And so I think while they may not have all that confidence, I think that that we have to help them get there. I think one of the roles that senior leadership plays is providing greater context to the asks that we make of the organization or the people on our teams. So I spend a lot of time providing as much context as I can. And I actually say, there are times when I can't give you context because it's above my pay grade. It's something that's confidential. It might be something that's come from the investors. It might be something that's come from the board. It might come from the CEO, and it's not something that I can talk about. Some of those things are like, you have a reduction in force, right? I can't tell everybody that that's going to happen. That's a legal liability. But how you message that after the fact is really important, right? And so I spend a lot of time thinking about the context by which I'm making my asks of the team, or the directive that I'm trying to give to them, so that they can understand how they fit into the grander picture of the company. They're not just a cog. They're just not one person doing one task. So I think it's a little unfair to say that people don't have confidence. I didn't have confidence at 25. I still have imposter syndrome at nearly 60, right? Yes, I am nearly 60. But I think the idea that it's a lack of confidence, we need to help boost them up, because that's the only way that we're going to have a better society and a better company.
Yeah. And Helen, you talk about, boosting them up. And that's the one thing, I think, going back to the participation trophy, it doesn't teach them that competition, that there are, winners, and there are going to be, somebody who loses a game, and that's okay. It's like, how do you get better to then win the next game? And now you fast forward to sitting in a conference room or being able to articulate your position, your thoughts, and you start getting, gun shy or getting passed up for opportunities because you don't know how to fend for yourself, right? You're right. I think we've kind of created part of the problem that we see now, but it's lifting people around us. I always try to make it a habit. If I see somebody who's on the junior side that's sitting in a group meeting and I know they have an idea or a comment that they want to make, I'll ask them, I was like, hey, would you like to share? Try to make the environment a little bit more comfortable.
Yeah, I think there are always the loud people in the room, right? And sometimes those people overwhelm those people who may be a little bit more introverted or just don't have all the facts and the knowledge, but yet they have a little golden nugget that you might extract out of them. And so I think to your point is making sure that you're asking those people to participate without, embarrassing them and making them feel invalid, but then also asking them to build on something that somebody else might have said by saying and, right? Not but, and. And so I think to the point of involving them and making them feel important enough to have a voice. I also like to do exercises where when I walk into an organization, I usually ask, what are the 5 things we should stop doing? What are the 5 things we should be doing? What are the 5 things we or could continue to do, right? So that I can get a perspective from everybody, because some of those people may have been told to do the things that they're doing and see that it's silly. And so I actually ask them to send it to me directly, and then I collate that and come up with common themes across the teams so that I can then be more directive into how we're going to move, because invariably I've come in where we do have to move, that the investors have kind of put me in or the board has put me in to come and fix something that might need to accelerate faster for them. And so I think this idea of getting the voice of the employee into the voice of the customer is really important when you're trying to establish a new rhythm to the business or to refresh the rhythm of the business. And so I try to make sure that everybody is heard when I'm working with the team.
Right. So you also talked about mentorship.
Yeah.
Supporting and building the confidence of the next generation. And you currently actively mentor individuals and try to kind of, help them along the way as far as from their career perspective.
Yeah. It's funny. I've been fortunate enough to have a couple of really strong mentors, and people that I've repeatedly worked for. And, and that to me is the measure of really being a good mentor, is do people want to work with you again in another company? And so it's interesting. I had a conversation yesterday with somebody on my team who is thinks that they might be pigeonholed. And so when I sat down in their performance review, I talked to them about the opportunity to look beyond the current team that they work with. They are a shared service and in solutions, right? So typically pre-sale solutions, working with the new logo team, and then to make sure that that person saw that they could actually work with the account management team towards the end of renewal, because a sale is only 10% of the customer journey in my mind. You have to extend the value messaging beyond the sale, and pre-sales is very good at that, and trying to apply that knowledge beyond the sale into QBRs, into renewal conversations, into expansion opportunities, and beyond the current team that person works with into some of our other lines of business. I think the other part of it is that we don't just sell software, we sell services, and we have a print shop. So this person doesn't have that experience in our printing, right? So printing point of sale materials or direct mail. And so there's a career path opportunity to expand not only your current knowledge set, but also other knowledge sets, working with different teams. And those are new muscles that teams have to look for. And, at first it was like, I don't know if there's a career path here for me. And I was like, well, let's talk through that, right? I see there's lots of career paths for you to getting to that VP title or whatever title you want. But I think you have to open your own aperture on your eyes to see the bigger picture. And that's part of being a mentor, is showing people the bigger picture or where there is a path forward. I think the hard part sometimes, though, is that people are on the grind, on the wheel, right? The hamster wheel of work every day, and don't stop to take that picture or that bigger view out to see the world. I think the other part of it is that mentorship isn't a forced function. And I think a lot of people go looking for a mentor. I think that there is an organic mentorship that happens. And that's where I feel like people come back to work for you or go to work. I've worked for the same CEO 3 times, and he's on the board of the company I'm at now, Brand Muscle, is because there's a trusted relationship in terms of the opportunities and growth that I had with him. And then I just delivered the results that he was happy with. And I think it has to be symbiotic. It can't be all one way in terms of mentee and mentor in the relationship.
No, that's excellent. And it kind of ties back to your first point about being curious, right? When you're looking at your career, be curious to have a broader lens on the organization as to, where you could possibly go next.
Yeah, I started working with him. I was working at a company out of Alexandria, Virginia, the software company. It was my first real software company. It was called Fishbowl. And he came in, inserted by the private equity firm. They wanted it out of their portfolio. It had been there for 5 years or 6 years. And he came in, and we went and looked at another company to acquire. And he turned around and said to me, "You need to write the DD memo." And I'm like, "What's DD?" And I'd like you to have dinner with me and my PE guy. Well, I have a Bachelor of Physical Education, and I had no idea what PE was at that time. Google is your friend. ChatGPT is your friend now. And so I went and Googled, what is a due diligence memo? Because I had to ask him, what does DD stand for, right? I went and Googled what a good DD memo looks like, a due diligence memo. And I worked on it with the technology people, because I wasn't doing the technical assessment. I wasn't doing the financial assessment. I was doing, is this a corporate fit for us? And I worked on that memo with a couple of people, and it came back, and it was like, yeah, we're going to buy this company. And the feedback I got from the CEO was like, this is one of the best DD memos they'd ever seen. That is because I was curious enough to ask a lot of questions from him, from the other team members who had done this before, who I went and Googled. I think the other thing that's really important for younger people who want to grow is you have to be a good writer. And if you're not using AI for, Grammarly for spell check and grammar, or you're not using GPT to help you write or whatever. But to me, the one thing my mother instilled in me was good English writing and comprehension, which was her weakness because she had dyslexia. And so I think that has really helped me be a good storyteller, both in the writing that I do and in the PowerPoint presentations that I do. But that, again, is about being curious and writing really well.
Excellent. So Helen, let's dive a little bit into the impact of technology on your professional sphere. How is technology transforming your world? Do you have any concerns with AI becoming more prevalent in our lives?
I think, look, technology is moving at such a fast pace, and in the revenue technology stack, I think, the MarTech team that publishes the list of MarTech companies, there's over 12,000 or 10,000 applications. There is going to be some consolidation, but I think each of those applications is looking at AI. My technology stack is not good if I don't connect the data for the signals and the insights to drive the business. And so I'm very methodical in the way that we add tech to our stack, making sure that we can share the customer experience with our colleagues across our organization. So that's things like Gong, right? That's AI. That's generating outputs of transcriptions of the meetings that we're having. It's capturing emails and attendees at meetings. It's, then I go to things like 6 Sense and PathFactory. They all have AI in them, whether that's generative AI or whether that's, recommendation AI. And I think that responsible AI is really important in today's society. If you don't follow the Marketing AI Institute, I think they changed their name to the AI Institute recently, and Paul and the team over there, you need to. I went to MACON, which is their big event last year, and within a week we had a responsible AI statement added to our employee handbook, so that we're protecting ourselves and people understand the boundaries by which we play. It's going to change. It's changing constantly. It's hard to keep up. I think there are people who are the tinkerers, as Latin Kana says from Sixth Sense. I am not one of those people. I am completely overwhelmed by AI use cases and opportunities. I'm letting other people figure it out, and then I will jump onto their use cases as an early adopter, using their GPTs or whatever it is that they're developing.
Right. Which kind of leads us to the last question, exploring the changes in marketing in the past decade. How has it evolved, from 10 years ago to where we are today?
Well, it's exploded, obviously. I think it's easy to spend. I think it's easy to spend a lot of money on a lot of tech without really understanding the connectivity points and the signals that they're using. I have a bare bones tech stack. I don't have a lot of budget for tech, but I make it work really hard. I think the other thing is the people part of tech. And you have to have a really strong team underneath you, which is your revenue operations team, whether that's sales ops, marketing ops, CX ops, whatever it is, has to understand how revenue flows through the organization, from the budget to the forecast to the billings and the rev rec against that, and how you can remove the hurdles and the steps to accelerate the journey, both for the customer or the client, as well as the seller or the account manager in that mix, and how you can surface signals that an account and the right buying committee is in market for your solutions, whether that's ready to churn or ready to buy. And I think that a lot of marketers talk a lot about the demand side of the house, but don't talk about the CX side of the house in terms of how do you protect the revenue that you already have. If you have a leaky bucket, it's really hard to grow. So you have to protect the base that you have.
All right. Excellent. Helen, thank you so much. This has been absolutely fantastic. So in closing, if you can leave the audience with one power word, what would it be? And then I want to ask you about your tree.
Okay. Again, curiosity is the key here. It's how can the data work better for you? How can you reduce the workload and the flow that everybody has to go through? I'm always looking at continuous improvement, and that is driven purely by curiosity. And the tree, I have a Christmas tree up that's been up since October. I changed the decorations for every major holiday between Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's. Then it becomes President's Day. Then it becomes Valentine's Day, St. Patrick's Day, Easter, and then Memorial Day. My husband served 30 years in the U.S. Coast Guard. It's the last tree that I hold up because there's not a lot of changes between now and July the 4th. And so Memorial Day is the tree that I enclose the Christmas tree down for 6 months, and then I put it back up. So it's something to talk to. It's in my background for 6 months of the year. It's a different tree. I credit Brian Reed, who is also a CMO that I'm familiar. That's a friend of mine. He had one on the CMO Coffee Talks that are sponsored by Sixth Sense and Heinz Marketing. And his tree burned out one year. And so I took the honor of carrying the tree for the rest of the year.
I love that concept. And I think it's something that I'm going to look at doing myself, because it's festive, and why not have it up for 6 months?
Yeah.
Helen, thank you so much.
You're very welcome, Anna. Nice to talk to you.
Thanks for joining us on the AI to Z podcast with Anna Frazzetto. If you found value in today's episode, consider following for more insightful STEM discussions. We'll be back with another deep dive. Until then.